Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Better Tomorrow 2, a Hong Kong action flick from 1987 that stars T-Lung, Leslie Cheung, Dean Shek, and Chow Yun Fat. It was directed by John Woo and is a sequel to A Better Tomorrow, which I reviewed already a while back. So the following plot synopsis was taken from the website Love HK Film. First, a little refresher course. The first film involves the travails of Ho, played by T-Lung, and Kit, played by Leslie Cheung, two brothers separated by their professions. One's a slick crook, the other an ambitious cop. As fate would have it, the two joined forces by movie's end, and along with super cool gangster Mark, played by Chow Yun Fat, vanquished the evil crime boss, but their victory had a price. The sequel follows Ho as he's freed from prison to infiltrate the inner circle of suspected criminal Lung, played by Dean Shek. Ho agrees to the deal, but only to protect Kit, who is romancing this guy's cutesy daughter Peggy in an effort to get closer to him. Well, somewhere in the process, the bad guy gets set up for murder. Well, he's not really a bad guy, so to speak. And with the help of Ho, this man retreats to America. And that's where Chow Yun Fat comes into play, a Chinese restaurateur and twin brother of Mark, who nurses the helpless man back to health. So the opening moments give a quick montage that summarizes the end of the first film, which is convenient. T-Lung and Leslie Cheung reunite within the opening 15 minutes, which is efficient storytelling. We spend some time with Leslie as he woos Dean Shek's daughter, and T-Lung investigates as a mole. Most fortunately, this crime boss is actually trying to go into legitimate business. And very often, it's a plot that's very common, in this day and age, in the late 80s, early 90s in Hong Kong triad cinema. But he wants to quit the triad life and go legit. But he doesn't seem to be much of a threat. He actually becomes a protagonist. But the bad news is that he becomes involved in a deadly conflict with some other bad guys. And this becomes the primary conflict of the movie that impacts all of the protagonists. And two of our protagonists really focus on that conflict during the middle of the film, while the other two are involved in a secondary conflict involving gangsters in America who cross paths as they're hiding out. Now, the script writing of A Better Tomorrow 2 is questionable in a number of ways. And if you really wanted to go through here and pick it apart, you probably could. But the primary reason, I think, is that Chow Yun Fat returns in one of the more ridiculous contrivances that you can imagine for a sequel. When I first saw this movie, I just had to, roll my eyes. I'm like, man, you guys are really going to do this, huh? But, hey, look on the bright side. He's back and entertaining. Chow works as a cook in a restaurant, and he has to deal with all those rude American customers. There's a rice eating scene involving some Caucasian gangsters, which is just so dramatically over the top, it's kind of absurd. You're taking the situation seriously, but there's a huge comedic element that's infused into it as well. I don't know if Chow was doing a Marlon Brando impression either. I don't know what was going on there. But it's serious but funny at the same time, and I liked it. And I do think the added humor at times in this movie does help to justify some of the script writing decisions, let's put it that way. And fun fact, I read that John Woo and producer Troy Hark had some major disagreements over the story focus, post-production and editing and all that stuff. So, yeah, that happened. Maybe that's a reason why some of the story and script writing decisions were a little odd to me. I need to point out, though, this movie is overdramatic. I mean, for example, they'll introduce a character at one point, and then they kill him off in 5 minutes, but they make a big deal out of it. You know what I mean? Every scene with Dean Shek has him on the brink of tears, and the entire movie is driven by insanely melodramatic music. There was melodrama in the first film, yes, but they went a little overboard, I think, with this one. But the performances are legit, and to the filmmaker's credit, they do keep you engaged with the story. The conflicts are strong, stuff keeps happening, there are some surprises, and the action is plentiful and nicely spaced out. The early murder scene was pretty neat, primarily because there's a hitman. I like the bad guy hitman in this too. He's pretty cool. And he has some like memorable confrontations with a few of our protagonists, both at the beginning of the movie and at the end. And near the beginning, he uses his silencer to frame one of the good guys and also create some confusion. And the action scenes themselves are generally good, with a few big highlights. And Cheung is the action director, by the way. The shootout near the docks and the house shootout car chase early on are pretty good. But the best scene within the first 2 acts is the apartment hallway shootout. That was a good one. But they do save the best for last. The final shootout takes place in this huge white mansion, and it has a huge body count. Lots of explosions, deliciously bloody violence. It gets ridiculous, but in a good way. And these bad guys are evil enough where you want to see them get taken down as well. I mean, this is, back in the day, I watched this movie one time. I've seen the original film a handful of times over the years. This one I watched once, like 20 years ago, and I did not like it. I felt like it just went too far. But watching it again, I have a greater appreciation for it, I think. It's definitely entertaining, and it works for what it's going for. And that final action set piece is worth watching. So yes, I do recommend A Better Tomorrow 2. Not as good as the first one, but worth watching. It is available streaming on Tubi, and it also got a tricked out Blu-ray release from Shout Factory, which includes the entire trilogy of films. So what do you think about this one? I know this one does have some big-time fans out there. So let me know what you think about A Better Tomorrow 2. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.